The gunshot echoed through the canyon like thunder, sending a flock of startled crows into the crimson Arizona sky. Bethany Adams clutched her bloodied side, stumbling forward as her horse collapsed behind her, another victim of the Harkins gang that had ambushed them a mile back. She could still hear their whooping calls in the distance, like coyotes closing in on wounded prey. "Nathan," she gasped, spotting the lone figure galloping toward her through the haze of dust and pain. Nathan Holloway, the most stubborn cowboy this side of the Mississippi, and the man she'd foolishly fallen in love with despite her better judgment. The year was 1879, and the Arizona Territory was no place for the faint of heart. Bethany had learned that the hard way since arriving from Boston 3 months prior to claim her late uncle's small ranch. She'd met Nathan at the general store her first week in Copper Springs, when he'd stopped her from paying 3 times the fair price for supplies. His honesty had been refreshing in a town where most saw her as an easy mark. Nathan leaped from his horse before it had fully stopped, his weathered face twisted with concern as he dropped to his knees beside her. "They got me good," Bethany whispered, her breathing labored as she pressed her hand against the wound. Blood seeped between her fingers, staining her simple blue dress. "You need to go, they're still coming. How bad?" Nathan asked, ignoring her plea as he gently moved her hand to examine the wound. "Bad enough," she answered, wincing as his fingers probed the area. The bullet had torn through her side, leaving a ragged, pulsing wound. "Leave me behind, I'm dying anyway," she begged, the metallic taste of blood filling her mouth as she spoke. Nathan's jaw tightened, his blue eyes darkening like a storm. "Not while I'm breathing," he said, his voice low and determined as he tore a strip from his shirt to create a makeshift bandage. "The Harkins boys have wanted my land for years. This is my fault. I never should have let you get caught in the middle." "You didn't let me do anything," Bethany argued weakly, remembering how she'd insisted on riding with him to investigate the cut fences at the border of their properties. Their partnership had begun as a simple arrangement. Nathan would help her learn ranching, and she'd help finance improvements they both needed. Neither had expected it to become something more. The sound of approaching horses spurred Nathan into action. With gentle but urgent movements, he helped Bethany onto his horse, then swung up behind her, cradling her body against his chest. "I know a place," he whispered against her hair as they rode away from the main trail. "Old Apache cave system. The Harkins won't follow us there." Bethany struggled to remain conscious as they rode, the pain in her side blazing with each step of the horse. Nathan's strong arms around her were the only thing keeping her from falling. The sun was beginning its descent behind the rugged mountains when they finally reached a narrow passage between 2 towering rock formations. "Stay with me, Beth," Nathan urged, his voice betraying the fear he was trying to hide. He guided his horse through the passage until they reached a small clearing with a cave entrance partially hidden by scrub brush. Inside, the cave opened into a surprisingly large chamber. A small stream trickled along one wall, providing fresh water. Nathan carefully lowered Bethany to the ground near the water source, using his saddle as a pillow for her head. "You know this place well," Bethany observed, her voice thin with pain. Nathan nodded as he unpacked supplies from his saddlebags. "Spent a winter here when I was 19. Got caught in a blizzard after a Comanche raid. An old medicine man found me half frozen and brought me here." He paused, looking at her with concern. "I need to look at that wound properly." Bethany nodded, her face flushed with fever. "Do what you must." With careful hands, Nathan removed the blood-soaked bandage and cleaned the wound with water from the stream. The bullet had passed through her side, missing vital organs but leaving significant damage. "You're lucky," he said quietly. "Bullet went clean through." "Don't feel very lucky," Bethany murmured, her eyes fluttering closed. "Hey, stay with me." Nathan patted her cheek gently until her eyes opened again. "I need to cauterize this wound. It's going to hurt something fierce." "Do it," she whispered, reaching for his hand and squeezing it weakly. "I've come too far to die in a cave." Nathan worked quickly, building a small fire and heating his knife blade. He gave Bethany a stick to bite down on and his bandana to grip. When the metal glowed red hot, he looked into her eyes. "Ready?" Bethany nodded once, her jaw set with determination. The cave filled with her muffled scream as the hot blade sealed her wound. The pain was blinding, consuming, and then mercifully darkness took her. When Bethany awoke, the cave was dimly lit by the dying fire. Nathan sat beside her, his back against the cave wall, rifle across his lap, eyes alert despite the exhaustion evident in his face. "You're still here," she whispered, her throat parched. "Told you I wasn't leaving," Nathan replied, reaching for a canteen. He gently lifted her head, helping her drink small sips of water. "How's the pain?" "Like being kicked by a mule," Bethany admitted, "but I'm alive." "And staying that way," Nathan said firmly. "The Harkins will be searching, but they don't know about this place. We'll wait them out." "Nathan," Bethany said hesitantly, "you should go back, get help. I'll be fine here." "We've had this conversation," he answered, his voice brooking no argument. "I'm not leaving you." The night passed slowly. Nathan kept watch while Bethany drifted in and out of consciousness, her body fighting against infection and blood loss. By morning, her fever had risen, and she shivered despite the blankets Nathan had wrapped around her. "Tell me about Boston," Nathan said, trying to keep her alert as he pressed a cool cloth to her forehead. "What made a city girl like you come to Arizona territory?" Bethany smiled weakly. "Necessity. My husband died of tuberculosis last year, left me with nothing but debts. When I received the letter about Uncle Jeremiah's ranch, it seemed like providence." She paused, gathering strength. "What about you? You don't talk much about your past." Nathan's expression darkened. "Not much to tell. My father was a drunk who lost our family farm in Missouri. Came west with nothing but a horse and dreams. Worked cattle drives until I saved enough for my own place." He shrugged. "The usual story." "I doubt anything about you is usual, Nathan Holloway," Bethany said, managing a small smile despite her pain. Nathan's weathered face softened. "Rest now. Save your strength." The day passed in fragments, for Bethany moments of clarity followed by feverish dreams. Nathan remained constant, tending her wound, helping her drink, speaking softly when she became restless. By evening, her fever had broken, and she felt stronger. "The Harkins?" she asked, suddenly remembering why they were hiding. "Do you think they're still looking for us?" "Probably," Nathan admitted, checking his ammunition. "They're a persistent bunch, but so am I." "Why did they attack us?" Bethany asked. "What do they want with your land?" Nathan sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. "Water rights. My property controls access to the best spring in the county. Frederick Harkins has been trying to force me out for years." He looked at her apologetically. "When you came and we started working together, they got nervous." "Two ranches united are harder to intimidate than one." Bethany considered this. "Is that the only reason you offered to help me? Strategic alliance?" Nathan's eyes met hers in the dim light. "It started that way," he admitted, "but not anymore." The honesty in his gaze made Bethany's heart quicken in a way that had nothing to do with her injury. In the 3 months they'd known each other, something had grown between them, something neither had acknowledged until now. "We should try to sleep," Nathan said, clearing his throat. "Tomorrow we'll need to move. Can't stay in one place too long." Morning brought new challenges. Bethany's wound, though no longer bleeding, was angry and red. She could stand with Nathan's help, but walking caused sharp pain to radiate through her side. "I can't ride," she admitted after attempting to take a few steps. "You should go for help, Nathan, I mean it." "And I meant what I said," he replied stubbornly. "We go together or not at all." He thought for a moment. "There's an old trapper's cabin about 5 miles north. We can make it if we go slow." It took them nearly the entire day to cover those 5 miles. Nathan fashioned a travois from branches and his blanket, pulling Bethany behind his horse along game trails and dry creek beds to avoid leaving an obvious trail. The terrain was unforgiving rocky slopes and dense brush that tore at their clothes and skin. By sunset, they reached the abandoned cabin. It was little more than 4 walls and a partially collapsed roof, but it offered better protection than the open wilderness. "Not exactly the Grand Hotel," Nathan said with a wry smile as he helped Bethany inside. "I've stayed in worse," she replied, grateful to be lying on something other than stone. Nathan secured the door and the single window before tending to Bethany's wound. His fingers were gentle as he applied a poultice of crushed herbs he'd gathered along the way. "Where did you learn this?" Bethany asked, watching him work. "That medicine man I mentioned," Nathan explained. "He taught me a few things during that winter, said I had good hands for healing." He smiled slightly. "Never thought I'd be using these skills on a Boston lady." "I'm hardly a lady anymore," Bethany said with a small laugh that turned into a wince. "Ladies don't get shot or hide in caves. You're the strongest lady I've ever met," Nathan said quietly. "Most would have given up by now." "I've never been good at giving up," Bethany admitted. "My father called it stubbornness. My mother called it determination." "I call it courage," Nathan said, his hand lingering on hers. Their eyes met, and for a moment the danger surrounding them faded away. Nathan leaned forward slowly, giving Bethany time to turn away if she wished. Instead, she raised her hand to his face, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw before he closed the distance between them. The kiss was gentle, tentative at first, then deepening with an intensity that surprised them both. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing heavily. "I've wanted to do that since I saw you arguing with old man Turner at the general store," Nathan confessed, a rare smile lighting his face. "I've wanted you to," Bethany replied, her pain momentarily forgotten in the warmth of his gaze. A sound outside shattered the moment, the unmistakable clinking of spurs on rocky ground. Nathan was on his feet instantly, rifle in hand. "Get down," he whispered, motioning Bethany to the floor beside the bed. He moved to the window, carefully peering through a crack in the shutters. His body tensed. "Harkins, 3 of them. Can we run?" Bethany whispered, her heart pounding. Nathan shook his head. "Not with your injury, and they've got the cabin surrounded." He checked his ammunition. "I've got 6 shots. There are at least 3 of them." "What do we do?" Bethany asked, fighting to keep her voice steady. "I'm going to try to talk to them," Nathan said, his expression grim. "Frederick Harkins is a greedy bastard, but he's not known for senseless killing. Maybe we can reason with him." "And if we can't," Nathan's eyes hardened. "Then I'll do what I have to do to keep you safe." Before Bethany could protest, Nathan moved to the door. "Harkins," he called out. "I know you're out there. Let's talk like civilized men." A harsh laugh answered him. "Ain't nothing civilized about stealing a man's water rights, Holloway. Come on out and maybe we'll let the woman live." "You shot her, Frederick," Nathan replied, his voice controlled despite his anger. "She's innocent in all this." "No one's innocent who sides with you," came the reply. "You've got 1 minute to come out or we burn the cabin with you in it." Bethany struggled to her feet, ignoring the pain. "Let me go out there," she said. "They might let you live if they have me." "Not a chance," Nathan said firmly. "Get back down. This is my fight too now," Bethany insisted. "I won't let you die for me." "And I won't let them take you," Nathan replied. "There's another way out of this." He moved to the back of the cabin, prying up a floorboard to reveal a small space beneath. "Root cellar. It's not much, but it might hide you if things go bad." "I'm not hiding while you face them alone," Bethany argued. The sound of breaking glass interrupted them as a flaming torch flew through the window, landing on the dry wooden floor. Flames leaped up instantly, licking at the aged timber. "We're out of time," Nathan said grimly. "Get in the cellar, Beth, please." "Not without you," she replied, grabbing his arm. The front door splintered under the force of a heavy boot. Nathan pushed Bethany behind him just as Frederick Harkins stepped through the doorway, flanked by his 2 sons, all 3 with guns drawn. "End of the line, Holloway," Frederick said, a cruel smile spreading across his face. "Thought you could hide from us. This doesn't have to end in bloodshed," Nathan said calmly, though Bethany could feel the tension in his body. "Your quarrel is with me, not Miss Adams." Frederick's eyes flicked to Bethany, narrowing when he saw her standing despite her injury. "The lady seems pretty involved to me, standing beside you even though we shot her," he chuckled. "Must be love." "Let her go," Nathan said, his voice hardening. "Then you and I can settle this." "Pa," the younger Harkins boy said nervously, the fire's spreading fast. Indeed, the flames had already consumed half the cabin, smoke filling the small space. Frederick seemed unconcerned, his attention fixed on Nathan. "I've waited 5 years to see you dead, Holloway," he said. "Today I get my wish." What happened next occurred so quickly Bethany could barely follow. As Frederick raised his gun, a shot rang out but not from inside the cabin. Frederick Harkins staggered, a look of surprise crossing his face as he fell to his knees. His sons whirled toward the doorway where Sheriff Marcus Reynolds stood, his smoking pistol still raised. "Drop those weapons, boys," the sheriff commanded, "unless you want to join your pa." For a tense moment, it seemed the Harkins sons might fight. Then, seeing the deputies flanking the sheriff, they lowered their guns. "Get some water on this fire," Sheriff Reynolds barked to his men as he entered the cabin. His eyes widened when he saw Bethany's condition. "Miss Adams, you're hurt." "She needs a doctor," Nathan said, supporting Bethany as her strength began to fail. "The bullet went through, but the wound's infected. We've got a wagon outside," the sheriff said. "Let's get you both to town." As they helped Bethany out of the burning cabin, she looked up at Nathan. "How did the sheriff know where to find us?" Nathan smiled tiredly. "Remember that trapper I told you about? He still lives in these hills. Must have seen us and gone for help." The journey back to Copper Springs was grueling, every bump in the road sending waves of pain through Bethany's body. Nathan remained by her side, holding her hand, speaking softly words of encouragement as she drifted in and out of consciousness. Dr. Samuel Wilson was waiting when they arrived. With Nathan's assistance, he treated Bethany's wound properly, administering laudanum for the pain and cleaning the infection that had begun to set in. "She's strong," the doctor told Nathan afterward. "With rest and care, she'll recover fully." Nathan nodded, the tension he'd carried for days finally easing from his shoulders. "Thank you, Doc. You should let me look at those cuts on your face," Dr. Wilson added. "Later," Nathan said, returning to Bethany's bedside. For 3 days, Nathan barely left her side, sleeping in a chair beside her bed, refusing all suggestions that he go home to rest. When Bethany finally awoke properly, clear-headed and fever-free, she found him there, his hand holding hers even in sleep. "Nathan," she whispered, squeezing his fingers gently. He woke instantly, relief flooding his features when he saw her alert expression. "Welcome back," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "What happened to the Harkins?" she asked. "Frederick died of his wound," Nathan replied soberly. "His sons are in jail, awaiting trial for attempted murder and arson. Sheriff Reynolds found evidence they've been rustling cattle, too." "Your land is safe now," Bethany said, attempting to sit up. Nathan helped her, adjusting pillows behind her back. "Our land," he corrected. "If you still want to be partners," Bethany looked at him thoughtfully. "Is that all you want us to be, partners?" A slow smile spread across Nathan's tired face. "Not hardly." He took her hand in both of his. "When I thought I might lose you in that cave, I realized some things aren't worth waiting for." "Such as?" Bethany prompted, her heart quickening. "Such as telling the woman you love how you feel," Nathan said simply. "I love you, Bethany Adams. Have since the moment you stood up to Turner in the general store, looking like a schoolmarm but arguing like a cattle driver." Bethany laughed, then winced as the movement pulled at her healing wound. "Not my finest moment." "It was to me," Nathan said. "Showed me you had spirit. That you wouldn't break easy." He paused, suddenly uncertain. "I know it's fast. We've only known each other a few months, and I'm just a cowboy with a small ranch, a cowboy who refused to leave me behind even when I begged him to," Bethany interrupted. "Who risked his life to save mine." She reached up to touch his face. "I love you too, Nathan Holloway. I think I have for some time now." 2 months later, on a clear autumn day, Bethany stood on the porch of her ranch house, now their ranch house, watching Nathan train a young colt in the corral. Her wound had healed well, leaving only a scar to remind her of their ordeal. The 2 ranches had been combined, creating a property substantial enough to ensure their future security. Justice had been served as well. The Harkins boys had been sentenced to 10 years in territorial prison for their crimes. The land dispute that had fueled their father's hatred had been officially resolved in Nathan's favor by the territorial court. As Bethany watched her husband, they had married in a simple ceremony 3 weeks after her recovery. She reflected on how much her life had changed in less than a year. She had come west with nothing but hope and a deed to a run-down ranch. Now she had a thriving home, a future full of promise, and a man who had proven he would stand by her through the worst circumstances. Nathan completed his work with the colt and walked toward the house, his stride confident, a smile lighting his face as he caught sight of her. Even now, that smile could make Bethany's heart race. "The doctor was right," Nathan said as he climbed the porch steps. "You look stronger every day." "I feel stronger," Bethany confirmed. "Strong enough to tell you something important." Nathan's expression turned concerned. "Everything all right," in answer. Bethany took his hand and placed it gently against her stomach. "We're going to have a baby." For a moment, Nathan stood frozen, his eyes wide with shock. Then a grin spread across his face, and he lifted Bethany into his arms, spinning her around carefully. "A baby," he repeated, setting her down gently. "Our baby. Due in spring," Bethany said, laughing at his expression of wonder. "Are you happy?" "Happy doesn't begin to cover it," Nathan replied, pulling her into a gentle embrace. "When I found you shot that day, I thought I was going to lose everything before I'd even properly had it. Now look at us." Bethany leaned into his strength, savoring the security of his arms around her. "That day when I begged you to leave me behind, were you ever tempted, even for a moment?" Nathan tilted her chin up so she could see the truth in his eyes. "Not for a single breath," he said firmly. "I meant what I said then, and I mean it now. Not while I'm breathing will I ever leave you behind." "That works both ways," Bethany promised, rising on tiptoes to kiss him. "We go together or not at all." As the sun set over their land, painting the mountains in gold and crimson, Nathan and Bethany remained on the porch, arms around each other, watching their future unfold before them. The wild territory that had nearly taken their lives had instead given them a chance to build something lasting from the ashes of what they'd almost lost. In the distance, a coyote called to its mate, a lonesome sound that echoed through the valley. But on the porch of the Holloway ranch, there was no loneliness, only the quiet certainty of two people who had found in each other the strength to face whatever challenges might come. "Not while I'm breathing," Nathan had promised her in that cave when death seemed certain. Now, with life flourishing within her and all around them, those words had become not just a promise of survival, but a pledge of devotion that would carry them through all the seasons to come.